Welcome to the Mortgage Podcast, where we give tactics, strategies, and inspiration to get you to 10 plus loans per month. We talk a lot about how to make a ton of money in mortgage while also being happy and thriving in your personal life. If you want to be a mortgage millionaire, you're in the right place.
Hello, everyone. Todd Scrima here. Welcome to the Mortgage Podcast, where we're talking today about a not so popular opinion, which is the mortgage business is being commoditized. Literally, as we speak, our industry is being commoditized. Now, when I say that, it sounds really scary, but I'm going to help you by the end of this understand how to not be a commodity. And we're going to talk about this in the mortgage business. We're also going to talk about it with some other industries. So let's start just by understanding what commoditization is. By the way, every business at different times goes through commoditization. There's not a business in America that hasn't suffered through commoditization. When it happens, it changes the industry, and then you'll see a shift. You'll see some people that understand what to do during a commoditization process actually do better coming out of it, and a lot of people suffer when they go into it. So what is commoditization? Commoditization, it's when the consumer starts to believe that your product or service is the same as everybody else's. Let me say that again. Commoditization is the process of when a consumer starts to think of your product or service as the same as everybody else's. So let me give you a role play for the mortgage business. If I was a realtor 30 years ago, realtors kind of referred to me like this. I would sometimes be in front of them and they would say these things. So, and you have been too. So they would say, "Oh, I want you to use Todd Scrima. He's at Summit. He is the best loan officer I've ever seen. They are not built the same. He always closes on time. He always delivers on his promises. And he's got good rates and fees, whatever they say. Go see Todd." And then they would go see Todd. Now, that's still true today, but it sounds a little bit more like this today than 30 years ago. Yeah, I could refer you to a few companies. Todd's pretty good over there at Summit. You could use Veronica over there at Wells Fargo, or you can use this other person at this other mortgage company. Those are two different statements, and that commoditization has been happening. My original mentor, just to go back even further, so he was a loan officer 45 years ago. So I got into it 30 years ago. 45 years ago, it was normal for a loan officer to close 30, 40, 50, 60 loans a month. It was very uncommoditized. It was very manual, and they had huge pipelines. And so going back 45 years ago to today, where the average loan officer closes about a half a loan a month, they used to close 40. So that is the process of commoditization in numbers, okay? Now, what happens during a commoditization cycle is the first thing that people do is lower price. You saw the airlines doing this when they got deregulated. A lot of them lowered their fares because the government didn't control the fares anymore, and a bunch of them went out of business. And then the ones that were left were like, we got to change something. Like, we can't just lose money and run a business. So they raised their prices. But when they did that, they also added more value, or at least what was perceived as value. Bags fly free, Sky Miles, so I use your credit card so I can get free trips. The Admirals Club, if you fly so much on United, for example, they've got a nice little club that I can go in and I can get some free food, and they're more comfortable recliners to sit in. They've got some movies going on, some TVs, maybe even free alcohol. So those are examples of that business trying to appear different to the consumer. So when you're in a commoditization cycle and everyone's starting to look at your product or service as more the same as everyone else's, you either got to lower your price or you've got to add more value. Well, in the mortgage business, we get really stuck on this. And we're like, Todd, I have no idea how to add more value. Let's say this was legal. It's not legal, but let's say it was for a second. And I went to any single realtor or builder in America and I said, hey, I want you to start doing business with me. I'm going to pay you $10,000 a month. And they're like, really? Yep. I said, Todd, I only did 6 buy-sides last year. I might be able to send you 4 loans. You sure you want to pay me 10 grand a month? Yep, every single month, as long as you refer me, I'm gonna pay you 10 grand a month. Okay? If we could do that, and if it was legal, and if it made financial sense, which none of it does, but if it did, you would get 9 out of 10 people you met with to send you mortgage leads, because now they see you as different. They see you as a way to make them more money. Now, in business, when you talk about value, it's mostly money, then time, and then everything else. So let me give you some examples. I can get on Amazon's app and I can order the batteries that I forgot at the grocery store, and they will be here the next day at roughly the same price as I would get in the grocery store. Okay? So their value is giving you hundreds of thousands of products delivered to your door in 24 hours. Now, just stop for a second and think of Jeff Bezos that said at one point in the boardroom, he had to stand up and say, guys, I know what we're doing. We're going to take this crappy book company, we're going to use that distribution system, and we're going to add hundreds and hundreds of thousands of products delivered for free in 24 hours all across America. Now that idea sounds crazy, but that's exactly what they did. So they have huge value. Now, is it real? There's always real value and perceived value. Now, do I always get Amazon products in 24 hours? No, I don't. Major products I do, but there's a lot of products I don't get for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. So it's not even all products. My perception is it's all products, but it's not. So there's always little nuances to all these things. So you're like, Todd, what are you talking about? Okay, I get it. We're in a period of commoditization for the mortgage business, but what do I do about it? The answer is you have to find a way. If you're dealing with, say, realtors and builders and those people that are what we call referral accounts or channel accounts or business-to-business sales, if you can make their lives better, they will send you more business. The problem is we don't know how to make their lives better because all we really care about is us getting more loans. Now, I know that sounds rude, and some of you are like, Todd, come on, I want to help everybody. Okay, but in reality, if I were to watch your actions, most of us don't really try and serve the client. Or this is more common. People will say, Todd, they should use me because I'm a really good loan officer. Okay, well, if you were a doctor and you didn't know how to diagnose me, I wouldn't go to you. So that's your job, is to do a good job on the mortgage loan is your job. That's not doing something extra. I wouldn't go to a restaurant and pay $40 for food that tasted bad. Right? That's their job, is to make tasty food. Okay? So it's part of the value of going to a restaurant is they're making food that you don't know how to cook. Okay? Now there's other things like, hey, it saves me the dishes. It's fun to get out of the house. I mean, there's other value that a restaurant provides. But at the end of the day, doing your job is doing your job. So closing on time and knowing what you're doing it's not part of how people see value. So let me use something that we can all relate to, and that is Tesla's value. So obviously it's a growing market like electric cars. They're not the only ones that make electric cars. Matter of fact, you can get an electric car almost any day of the week about 30-40% cheaper than you can buy a Tesla. I can buy a Ford Fusion a lot cheaper than I can a Tesla. So why do people buy a Tesla? Well, I'll tell you a story about this. One of my managers bought a Tesla. We're in the lunchroom about 6 months ago, and he says, hey, I bought a Tesla. Showed me a picture. I said, dude, that's really cool. Those are cool cars. I said, why'd you buy it? He says, I'm saving money on gas. So we went into a room. I said, you got a few minutes? He says, yeah. And I said, let's find out why you bought that car is to save money on gas. Let's find out if that's true. So he told me what he paid for it. Then we wrote down what he could have bought another car for, another electric car or a gas car. And then we put down how much he's saving on gas, what he typically spends on gas each month. And we did all the math. And not counting the time value of money, it was a 22.5-year break even. So he would have to have paid for gas for 22.5 years in order for him to actually start saving money on gas. So the reason he bought the car was a perceived value. he doesn't have to pay gas, but you do have to pay to charge it, which costs money. So when we did the math, it was 22.5-year break even. Now, I think Teslas are great. I think these are a great car. I'm not bashing Tesla. My point is to tell a story that the perceived value of why this gentleman bought a Tesla was not even true, but it still worked. That's very confusing. That's very confusing when you think about it. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper. Tesla's very smart. They made up 9% of all car sales in the state of California last year. So, dominant player and done fairly fast. So you think about it, you're like, okay, what other value could Tesla have? Well, we all know that it does save money on gas on a monthly basis. Maybe not when you compare it to the purchase price, but it does save gas on a monthly basis. Number two, you're saving the planet. So that's an altruistic thing to where we're saving the planet. We feel better about driving that car and not giving off all the emissions. So that's certainly one reason. Third reason, it's faster than a Ferrari. So now maybe that only appeals to guys mainly, but it's pretty cool. Like I was taking a Tesla to a concert, and it was the one with the bigger battery, and the guy put it in sport mode, and I told him to press the pedal. No one was around us, and it jerks your head back. Like it's got a G-force to it. Like it's crazy how fast that car is. And I've driven some fast sports cars, but nothing compares to that. It's literally faster than a Ferrari. So it's got that. And then it's got great technology. Look at the screen. It's just big. They got all kinds of updates and cool things you can do. So there's already 4 big items of value that could be real or perceived. And then I'll add one more to it. And I didn't really realize this one until recently. My ex-wife had one, and she came over one day and she showed me during Christmas that the car will dance to a Christmas song. So the doors open and shut and lights go on and off. Meanwhile, it's blaring, Christmas music. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I got in one a couple weeks ago. I was down in Orange County with my COO, and Chris says, hey, these cars fart now. And now I'm not saying this to be gross. It's part of them gamifying the car. So the driver said, yeah, it farts at people. And I said, can you do it? We're at a stoplight. And he makes the car fart at a pedestrian. And the pedestrian laughs, and we're laughing, and it was just funny, okay? Who knew a car could fart, right? It's a little thing they put on in the car. So there's like 5 or 6 different types of value that we get from buying a Tesla, and that is why people are buying them. If you just they save money on gas, that's not really enough. So what they do is they stack it. That's called stacking, where there's like 5 different reasons that you can have for buying a Tesla. And imagine if you are a loan officer and you had real value to a realtor, or you had real value to a borrower, where they said, oh my God, I got to do business with this person. Look at all this stuff they do. Look at the value they're creating, right? Now, it's not really said that way. It happens through messaging. It happens through marketing so that people start getting attracted to you. And that's the magic. So what we're faced with in the mortgage business, to bring it all back around, is that we've got to find a way to add more value to the clients that we deal with. And you're like, well, Todd, I'm stuck on that. Well, keep listening to this podcast. I will do a whole segment on how to add value in some examples, because it's super important. And it's one of those, it's really a light bulb moment where for me, I'm looking at this market and I was like, well, what is the value that a loan officer wants? A loan officer wants to make more money. We're in a depressed market and it's never been harder. And if I can show them how they can get 5 or 10 more loans a month, they're going to work with me. They're either going to work with me in a coaching program or they're going to join my mortgage company. And that's what I do. So when you talk about me talking about all of these different programs I do, it's me adding more value to people's lives. This podcast is free. This is me giving you value. So maybe it's not today. Maybe it's 8 years from now. You see me talk at some event and you're like, that's that Todd guy, right? He added value to me 8 years ago and I loved his talk. He added huge value here. and my company just went out of business, or I want to work for someone like that. That makes that person attractive. It makes the company attractive. And that is why Amazon beats everybody. That's how Tesla is beating everybody. It's all of those things. Anyone can do this, but they don't. Let me give you one other, just because I'm worried that this is not landing. Let's say that you're in a restaurant, and the restaurant is, kind of medium high end. So you're catering, you do a study, and you find out, 40% of our clients that come here once a month are here on a regular basis, and their average bill, because sometimes they entertain business people, their average bill is $1,000, where our average bill for our other 60% of our clients are $100. So we're going to find a way to cater to that business person. And we're going to define who they are. We already know who they are. We're going to get all their contact information, and we're going to add some special things for them. Now, that special thing may not be money. Maybe the owner calls me and says, "Hey, Todd, I just wanted to reach out. I'm the owner of this restaurant. And from now on, as long as you call ahead, anytime that one of the two separate dining rooms that are quieter and they're kind of in the back room, anytime you want to use one of those special rooms, if they're not already booked, anytime you come in, you can have that room." That would make me feel, without them throwing money at me, would make me feel like next time I had clients in town to go there. And let's say I did that. And let's say that all the patrons, all the employees got to know their top 100 customers' names. And I walk in with a group of people and they say, "Mr. Scrima, I saw that you reserved the back room. It's all ready for you. Follow me." So now the only value that they're giving me is calling me by name when I walk in, so I feel important. And they're giving me their special room for free as long as I ask for it in advance. And that's called a VIP club. I'm going to go there more. I'm just telling you, this is how this works. When I have people in town all the time. Next time people come in town, I'm going to tell my assistant Veronica, "Hey, see if the, whatever that steakhouse is, whatever the restaurant's name is, see if they're open, see if their back room's open." And if their back room's open, not only am I going there, but I'm bringing a big group, because my average check size is 10 times their average client. And so they want to cater to me. Okay. I'll tell you one more story. I have a friend of mine, owns 2 dry cleaners, and he was like really depressed during COVID. So I said, "Hey, come over to my house and I'll help you with some of this stuff." So I had him do some homework. He brings me all his dry cleaning clients, and he found out that they have 3,000 customers, 3,000. But they had 300 that, me being one of them, that do a lot of dry cleaning. Matter of fact, we do 8 times the amount of dry cleaning of the average client. So like my dry cleaning bill, say, is $600 a month, where his average customer is $80 a month. Okay. So that's a big difference. And he's like, "I just don't know what to do. I get what you're saying, focus on these big clients, but I don't know what to do for them." I said, "Well, bud, it's a pain in my butt every Saturday to drive over to your dry cleaners. Why don't you start a delivery service? You could do it, and you would keep all those clients, and you could grow bigger clients." So he started doing that. All of a sudden, I talked to him a couple months ago, because this was like 2 years ago, and they're doing more business than ever, even though the dry cleaning, because people aren't going to the office as much, the dry cleaning industry is down. He's actually up in revenue. That's crazy. So I'm just giving you some ideas so that you can think about, how could I add more value to people so that they see me as different? Now, some of that can be real and some of it is perceived. I'll give you one more example and then we'll close out. Disneyland. They don't call it an amusement park. They call it the happiest place on earth. Pirates of the Caribbean is not a log ride. It's Pirates of the Caribbean, because I can ride a log ride for $2 at the state fair. But when I go to Disneyland, I'm spending $4 or $5 grand to go to Disneyland with my kids, because it's the happiest place on earth. Now, is that real or perceived? I don't know. Pirates of the Caribbean's a pretty cool ride. I mean, it's got cannons going off and fake gold, and it's pretty cool. I mean, I know it's a kid thing, but I think it's pretty cool. So I'm paying for a better experience. Now, in reality, food's not that great. You've got to stand in line for 3 hours sometimes to get on a ride. Sometimes very hot there. Hard to, get around, like you're exhausted at the end of 12 hours. So is it the happiest place on earth? I don't know. They say it is, and part of me buys into it. And so when I take my kids, it's $4 or $5 grand, drop it on Disneyland. Now, I could go to the state fair for $200 and have almost all the same rides, but it's just not as good. And so is that real value or perceived value? You got to decide. Both work. Both work. If you're a loan officer and I'm a realtor and I think that you're going to make me more money and you have a certain way of saying that, or you have a program or something like that, that can make me more money, I'm going to do business with you. That's why in our business, people say, oh, these realtors aren't, they're not loyal. We're not really giving them any reason to be loyal. So when you come around and they like Todd and they're like, oh yeah, let's do a deal together, and they refer me a client, and then I don't do a really good job of staying in touch. So the next month when the new person walks around and says, oh, we've got this program, we've got this flyer, we've got this, that I send them a loan because I don't attach value to Todd. And my value skips around because I'm trying to find someone that adds more value to me than the next person. Is that being disloyal? Maybe. I guess it's all in how you look at it. I think it's our job as business people to offer more value to the client. My value to loan officers is making you another 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a month. And I deliver on that. That's why people want to work here. So, and I work super hard on delivering that value. I have a client right now in my program. He timed out of the program. I said, bud, you're staying in for free until we get the result. Now, the truth is, the client's not doing the work. Okay, he's just not able to get the stuff done. But I'm not going to give up on him, because when he's done and he's doing another 5, 6 loans a month, I need him to tell the next person. So am I giving him some pro bono work because I care about him? Yes. I also care about the reputation of my brand. So I want to make sure that whatever happens, and I've told him, I said, bud, you just didn't do the work. He says, I know. I said, but I'm not going to give up on you, and I'm not going to charge you more, but I'm going to get you the result that you paid for. And that's why I act that way, is because I know that him telling the next 3 people about the program or how Summit got him a bunch more loans, that is worth its weight in gold. So when you're in commoditization like the mortgage business is, you're going to have to find a way to add more value. Now, could you do 1 loan a month for half a point and work out of your house and do all that? You could. I'm going to suggest to you that that is dumb, and that is not the right direction to take. So I hope that helps a little bit, and I hope you continue to watch this so that I can teach you how to add value to people's lives in a business setting in the mortgage industry. Because you learn that, that is the secret. Thanks, guys. Have a beautiful month. Please share this with someone.